Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Pulse Ox Podcast. Today on the show, we have Ali Gilbert, the queen of men's health. She helps busy men get jacked, look great naked, optimize testosterone, and conquer nutrition. Ali helps guys sift through the bullshit and provides them with a structure and a plan that works for their lifestyle. She is the host of the Ali Do Is Win podcast. Ali, welcome to the show. And I guess it's Ali Win. Ali Do Is.
It was. I actually recently rebranded it to the Ali Gilbert Podcast because everyone could not find my podcast. And I was trying to make an alliteration off of All I Do Is Win from DJ Khaled because I'm a big hip hop fan. So, but of course, people, didn't put two and two together. Nonetheless, now they can look up the Ali Gilbert Podcast. You can find old episodes on Ali Do Is Win, but that's the new podcast with the new colors, pink and black. I used to be blue and black, so now we're pink and black because a men's health coaching company can be pink and black because men wear pink. So
you bet your freaking ass it can. I have a pink shirt that I love with all my heart that I typically wear whenever I'm going to special events with my family.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's new. It's trending now.
So, Ali, you've got a wonderful set of experience. I see you on social media. I've been following you. You have a crush it mindset. I want to dive into the philosophies that you have for life. Can you just give me a little bit of insight into how you live a long life?
Sure. I think a lot of what people struggle with now is how do they become the most resilient version of themselves, especially with the immense amount of stress that is put on people. And that is obviously with the evolution of more technology, social media, stuff like that. So instead of saying eliminate all your stress, like I think we used to say that back in the day, like, oh, well, you got to take the stress out of your life. Like, okay, good luck. No one can really take stress away. You can control the things you can control. And I think being able to focus on that is crucial. And what falls under that umbrella is going to be nutrition. It's going to be training, and it's going to be how you react to the stressors in your life, which that can be flipping out, or it can be taking a deep breath before you respond, or, take action on something and understand if the way that you react is going to serve you in the future or what exactly it's going to solve in that moment, which I think has a domino effect towards the future as well as living a longer life, because what happens in the future is based on the choices that you make now. And if you're making good choices, meaning that you're taking care of yourself and maybe acting selfishly as perceived by the rest of the world. But also, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And that includes your family, your clients, your purpose, all that stuff. So doing your own research in the medical world and advocating for yourself is one of the best pieces of advice that I can give somebody. And that includes hiring a coach. And I think back, 10, 15, 20 years, well, before like the explosion of online coaching, people saw personal training as more of a luxury versus a necessity. And now that training has also evolved into an online space, there's a lot more that myself as a coach can cover for somebody versus the 1 hour that we spend in the gym. We can help facilitate a relationship with hormone optimization. We can help them with nutrition. We can help them even with like social and relationships and all those sorts of things. Even though I'm not a therapist, there is that whole human aspect that you can still provide for somebody that could allow them to be the most elite versions of themselves. And then they can take those skills and then implement that into their business and their personal life. And then that's how they can become super resilient so that things don't affect them as poorly, because we know that stress has a massive impact on our health. It's just not necessarily something tangible that someone can see unless they're looking at blood work or they see ramifications of maybe poor choices that were made in a very emotional time.
So you hit on a bunch of topics there, and I want to unpack each of them. So I guess the first question that I have for you is, would you consider yourself a spiritual person?
So I went to Catholic school for 11 years and
11 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, all girls too. Like, oh my God. So
How
that
exciting.
probably explains why I love dealing with guys instead of women as much. But So I was obviously thrown into the spirituality from a religion standpoint and learning theology and all that stuff. I would not say I'm a religious person, but there are definitely aspects of spirituality. I lost my mom in 2016, so that has definitely affected how I look at things. So I do feel like there is a universe that acts a certain way based on ways that you show up in it. So, but I would not consider myself like an overly spiritual person.
So in your coaching with your clients, right, there's this element of resilience that you mentioned. And many of the programs out there that have helped people overcome addictions and change their lives, they immediately, like one of the first tenets, I'm thinking of like Alcoholics Anonymous, that's the one that comes to mind right now, is they have this focus on a higher power, right? They have this focus on God, whatever that means to you. And we have ripped that subject apart on this show. What is God? Who is God? Why is God? But having been raised in Catholicism, which is a mixed bag. I was raised Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I are two peas in an anti-religious pod. But when it comes to establishing a base of resilience, right? Obviously, there's all the health things that you can do, and I'm going to send people to you to have you help them with those particular elements of their actual physical health. But when it comes to mindset health, to heart, like internal energy health, brain health, what are some of the systems and beliefs that you help your coaching clients latch onto in order to help them maybe snap out of their anti-resilient habits and tendencies?
I tend to be very direct with them, but I do have that empathetic side, which I think allows me to help the mostly male clientele show up in their most vulnerable aspect. So, like I will discuss with them some of what their self-limiting beliefs are, and then try to dig through why they have those. And sometimes it's very surface level with a lot of these guys because to them, that's a weakness to show any of that or even discuss it. So if somebody says, like, I want my abs to show, I want to be shredded, well, what does that really mean to them and why? And why do they feel they can't get there? And sometimes people identify with their childhood trauma or their situation, or like I have ADD or I'm ADD, I can't do this, or, I can't sit still and I have to do this or whatever. And it's like, cool, but is that what you want to attach yourself to the rest of your life? I have ADD too, like, but I don't like throw it out there as an excuse for certain things. It could also be very much a superpower at times. So it's really more of a discussion and kind of showing that human side and getting them to bring the walls down and then really bring to surface like what the struggle is and for what reason. And then that allows them kind of like the freedom to be themselves and then realize, hey, you actually can do this. You've just been limiting yourself and you need to get out of your own way, which I think goes for me, goes for any professional. Like, I don't think anybody does not deal with this stuff. And if they never deal with that type of stuff, awesome. Please teach us the secret because I would love to learn it.
It sounds, you have a ton of examples, but is there one that comes to mind of somebody that came to you who had a ton of limiting beliefs that was standing in the way of their goals? What'd you do and what happened?
Somebody who comes to mind. Oh man. I would say it's more of like, because there's multiple guys who have similar self-limiting beliefs. For example, they never thought they could have abs. And it sounds very superficial, but it is an aesthetic that a lot of people highly covet. So why do you think this? Well, I've never had them. Okay. Understandable. If you've never had something, maybe you don't feel you could actually get there. What have you done in your past that has led you to believe this? And it really comes down to them not doing something for long enough, not being consistent enough with the pathway to get there, but also not applying the right things because maybe they didn't hire a professional. Very similar to if you bought a Lamborghini, you never consulted with any type of mechanic, you just tried to do it on your own. Obviously, it's probably not going to go that well. because that's a very high-powered car that needs a certain type of maintenance. So just like a very high-powered individual or executive or CEO or husband and father, like you have to maintain that machine and you have to do it the right way to get you to where you want to go. So when I position it that way, then they're like, okay, cool. You show them the way, obviously through nutrition training and everything we discussed. And then they start to get there and then they're just like, oh my God. And then they have like an identity shift, which could be a whole nother topic. But to them, they're just like, oh my God, I never thought I would have this. And they can't stop taking pictures of their veins and how they look in shirts, and they'll go shirtless and sleeveless. And like, to me, that means everything, but it's also the emotional transformation that happens in a man. Because a lot of the times it's the lies and the misconceptions they've been fed surrounding testosterone replacement and the whole masculine narrative that goes on socially. And then if they go on testosterone, it just amplifies the confidence that was hiding out there, that they're like a whole new man. And it literally has brought me to a very emotional state sometimes to see that even over Zoom, where he speaks with confidence, he's assertive, he has more clarity in what his life goals are. And that to me is everything, because then it's like, hey, remember when you thought you couldn't look this way or do this or get up this early? Like, look at you now.
You talked about goals a couple of times, and I want to bite off and chew a little bit of that. So I follow the and I'm relentless about this, and I've talked about it on the show a bunch of times, but every day I write down my values and I write down my core four. Are you familiar with the core four methodology? So people disagree over what these 4 F's are. I think where it came from, it was originally family, finance, fitness, and faith. It was made by a bunch of Christian dudes, this program. Faith is a heavy word for me. Carries a little bit too much extra shit that I don't want to mess with. And so I have freedom, family, fitness, and finance. And I borrow that from a guy named Jeff Smith. Shout out to Jeff. So I have 3 goals that are related to these 4 topics, right? And typically it's a small one, a medium one, and a big one. So for example, I've got okay. So for my freedom one, I have always wanted to do a stand-up comedy routine.
Me too.
And so that is terrifying. And next Wednesday, I'm going to open mic night, right, to crush that goal. And so I'm just like, I write it down, and I'm like in the, getting my mindset into thinking about that, right, and trying to. I do the Silva meditation where I can see myself on the stage and I see myself crushing it, right, and I rehearse that psycho-cybernetics style goal striving, right. So I have that. Make a sword right now is on my list. I have a blacksmithing company that I'm associated with, but I myself have never made a sword, and that just won't fly. And then, like we talked about earlier in regards to building a personal brand, posting every day for 100 days straight. I'm on day 6 today.
Nice.
So that's an example, right, of my goal methodology. Do you have a framework that you follow? Talk to me about how you train yourself and train your clients to set better goals, and how you're able to crush those goals and actually meet them.
First of all, stand-up comedy is one of my favorite things on earth, and it's a tool that I use to deliver my content, because more so live talks. Like, I watch a lot of stand-up and I study it, because when I'm talking about boners and stuff, like, you can't just like be serious when talking about very sensitive men's health topics. So I infuse humor into that, so it deflects a lot of that awkward nature. So I love that. I love that you're doing that. Like, that would be my dream as well as to really be good at hip hop.
You should do it.
I know.
Find an open mic night. Apparently, there's a ton of them out there. So I'm gonna challenge you to try it out. Do like a 5-minute bit and record yourself, and I'll do the same. It's going online, and it's gonna be awful. I got some good ones, I think.
I gotta write jokes for that. I have so many stories from when I was trainer in gyms and in-home training and stuff like that. That's endless content for sure. I would love to be really good at hip hop dancing. I'm really bad at it. And I'm very jealous of these kids on TikTok because I literally have tried to learn these dances and I just can't conceptualize how they learn it so quickly and make it look so good. And for no other reason than when I'm in maybe in an environment with people once every few years that calls for that type of skill to be like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like whether it's a wedding or at a random bar or some shit, like that would be cool. But anyway, I don't think about on the daily. It's more of like when I'm scrolling and I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to be able to do that one day. So I tried. I've taken lessons, but it's weird because not a lot of adult hip hop lessons exist, probably for good reason.
So we don't hurt our knees and our backs and stuff, I guess.
Yeah. But daily, I do try. I always set out like, how can I add value to someone's day and make their day? Whether it's a guy who messages me on Instagram, knowing that he's asking something that's very sensitive or probably took a lot of courage to ask me. How can I show empathy and provide value to him with not necessarily overstepping and then providing value that I usually do for paid clients? So how can I do that? How can I build somebody else up, leverage my platform or network so that somebody else can benefit? So that's something I try to do every single day because I've grown up in a very wealthy town in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I've seen what wealth and fame and money can do to people. And I always wanted to not be like that. And that's something I've taken with me forever. So that I try to practice daily, even if it's just texting someone and be like, hey, you know, like I'm grateful for you, stuff like that. So that I implement daily. I forgot what the other ones were. What'd you ask?
Just a goal framework. So you wake up every day and that's something that's on your mind. Do you repeat it to yourself? Do you write it down? Is it on your wall? How do you remind yourself and get into the habit of implementing that every single day?
It's immediate because I always wake up to a ton of messages on Instagram and I could easily get irritated with some of the questions, but also I've learned that maybe people don't word things the best way. Sometimes it's a language barrier. And I think about, all right, how much courage did it take for this person to reach out? Now, there's definitely people that like abuse it where they're asking me 11 billion questions. And it's like, all right, how about, you know, we explore coaching or this is not something I can help you with over a DM, but it's pretty automatic just from what I do in my daily lifestyle. Like my DMs on social are more sacred to me in the sense that I don't want anyone ever to have to handle that because there's a lot of people out there who don't answer their own DMs. Nobody can be me, just like no one can be you. And so having that connection to people and then being able to help them because there's not a ton of people that do what I do in a sense. And I'm not trying to be elitist, but it's more of what people say to me. They're like, I can never find someone who could actually answer these questions, but then maybe help me find the right type of practitioner or way to work out or eat that's actually going to help me. So it's more of like an automatic in my daily life. And I try to have it bleed into my personal life with relationships and friends and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I love that. So one of the things that I have found that has changed my life is the development of a chief aim, right? Or a list of, like, some people call them big, hairy, audacious goals, right? Something that is huge for your life that is, you know, a couple of examples are become the first millionaire in my bloodline, right? That's a chief aim that I've heard several times. Do you have a grand vision, a big goal that you're working on right now that you are ruthlessly dedicated to, or do you take the goals in your life on a more bite-sized, day by day or week by week standpoint?
Whew. As far as big goals working on, yes. One of them being the men's health event that I started, which we ran for the second year in a row in November in Austin, actually, called the Silverback Summit. And it's basically if you bring together everybody that I trust from a fitness, nutrition, testosterone replacement, men's health, business, network circle in one room to provide the most unfiltered, raw community information for a man. That's what the summit is about. And I'd found, like, I've attended many medical conferences, I've even spoken at one, and I've applied to other organizations where they were like, we don't need this topic covered. We don't, we're good on this. And I'm like, but you're not, because nobody provides the information delivered this way, where it's maybe evolved from conventional medicine, and maybe it's ways that people practice that are not restricted by what certain organizations want people to talk about. And I wanted to provide a place where guys can go be around other guys who are thinking the same thing, who also think that maybe they're alone in what they're experiencing, whether that's erectile dysfunction at 26 years old, or maybe some anxiety, or considering testosterone replacement, or they just don't know how to get jacked and they've been trying. And that's really the aspect of the community that I want to provide. And we quadrupled our attendance this year from last year. And I want this to be the go-to for men's health, and the go-to for guys who are seeking that type of community, because that's something that people don't really have these days. So for me, it would mean the world if that became like the most epic thing ever, because it started out as just an idea, and then me like, I want everyone to have a good time. And then it's like, well, yeah, you kind of need to like not lose money on these types of things. So let's make this event like the best ever. And now it's known internationally and has garnered that type of attention, which I'm very grateful for. And it definitely has more growth that it could experience as well in the future.
Damn, I'm sorry I missed that. I'm just a stone's throw away from you down here in San Antonio. Is the next one going to be in November as well, or have you planned it? When's that?
Yeah, we're getting the dates sorted now, but it's going to be probably that same like second week. It was like the 8th and 9th that week in November. So we're looking at doing it in Arizona next year, but it's not confirmed.
Okay, right on. Well, Ali, we'll have to do some more interviews together, because I have 1,000,005 questions more for you, and I want to dive into some of these health topics that you've touched on. But for now, we will adjourn. And so I want to just ask, where can everybody find you?
The best way is Instagram at the Ali Gilbert, ALI. And then there's a link in my bio to all my links that are useful. Silverback Summit, my programs, applying for coaching with us, all that stuff. That's where I am the most active, and my most content is on Instagram.
Perfect. Ali Gilbert, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been the Pulse-Ox Podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.